So honored that you would listen. You can listen on Hometown Station if you're driving and you like what we're talking about today. Go in, turn on your computer, go to hometownstation.com. Got a great app, maybe the best radio app in the business on KHTS 1220 AM. It's AM. Go in the App Store. It's AM 1220 KHTS. So Aaron Scott Young and I are now going to talk about probably, for some people, maybe a little deep discussion, but it has to be talked about. And that's you finding your way in life, you finding your passion. Who are you? So last night, Aaron Scott Young was coaching up people that paid $35,000 this year to hear what he has to say. So when you meet very, very successful people, for the most part, they probably pretty much know who they are. They have a direction, and they pursue their passion. Somehow they found their passion. Am I correct on that?
Well, here's what I'll say. I think that they've hit some sort of a level where they've been able to afford. The people that by the time they get to me, they usually have, they're successful somehow, somewhere. But I think that everybody, as they progress at whatever level they're at, if they're in motion, if they're moving, they end up getting up against their own Peter principle. They start to get elevated beyond their ability, their competence level. And so people are constantly, some of the most wealthy, successful people I've ever met, after they make millions and millions of dollars taking their company public, they feel like a fraud. They feel like they're just faking it, like they're cheating. So I would say that everybody's always saying, who am I going to be next? How am I going to be relevant? Okay, now I've done this, so what does that mean? I've had this success, but could I recreate it, or was I a one-trick pony? I think we hear that all the time. And so I think that if people out there listening will come to grips with the idea that just because you don't have all the answers about your future or about how to get to what you want doesn't make you a loser, doesn't make you deficient. All it means is that you're going through this human condition of insecurity. The big difference between successful people and unsuccessful people, in my experience, isn't a lack of wondering if they're really doing the right thing or whatever. The difference is successful people don't sit around sort of contemplating their navel. They go start doing something. And that's the big difference.
Right, and the real successful ones like yourself take massive action, and massive action is not 8 hours a day, ladies and gentlemen. It's more like 14, 15, 16 hours a day. But in some cases, especially when you're starting a business or you get stuck, you've got to take massive action, but you've got to know what kind of massive action to take. Just going out and staying busy and being busy isn't the same thing as taking massive action in a well-designed plan. Am I right or wrong on that?
Well, you're exactly right. And here's the thing. First of all, you need to have an objective. You need to have some end game. Where are we going? And then every single day, and in our on Wednesday mornings we have our management meeting. So I've got the vice presidents, I have my business partner on there, our CFO. We get on and we talk about, okay, and then they do this with their divisions of the business. Every week I say, what are the up to 4, no more than 4, but usually 2 or 3 massively important objectives you're going to accomplish before the next time we have this meeting in 1 week. What are the massively important objectives? And then if people say, well, I'm going to do this, this, and this, then we have a sanity check and say, does that objective that you're saying you're going to go after, does that actually move us toward our overarching goals? Because if it doesn't, then you're insane. You shouldn't be working on it. You should be working only on making massive movement toward our overarching goal. Otherwise, you're just spinning around in circles. You're a dog chasing your tail.
Amen. Amen. I also want to give a big shout to a young lady I met at Celia in Las Vegas. She's listening to our show on the app in the App Store, AM 1220. I helped her download the app. She was so interested in our show. She asked me what I did. I won't tell you what hotel she works at or what she does, but she was so interested in listening to us today. So it's a great show for Celia. Big shout out to you, my dear. You're just gorgeous here in Las Vegas. So let's drill down a little bit, because I think one of the issues is people lack real self-confidence. We all have self-esteem issues. We all suffer from something, doubt. So what happens is doubt creeps in. It creeps in. Look, all of us have the devil and angel. The devil's on one shoulder, the angel's on the other. All of us have it. Somehow successful people are able to mute the devil's, you can't do it, you're not real, you're a phony, you're not good enough, and on and on and on and on. The devil just, that's the way human nature is. I don't know how God planned all that. Maybe it goes back to Adam or Eve. I don't know. And then the angel says, oh, you're such a nice guy. You know, you can do it. But the angel's not screaming as loud as the devil is. So how have you been able to mute your devil? How have you been able to figure out to get enough self-confidence, enough belief system, Aaron Scott Young? How have you been able to do this?
Well, here's the thing. You know, it's not a lot of fun to build something unless you feel like you're solving a problem. And if you have identified, here's a world-class problem, and I'm bringing forward a world-class solution, right? And I'm going to have doubts. I'm going to have my ego in there talking to me going, who the heck do you think you are? And, you know, are people going to reject me? Are people going to think I'm stupid? You know, whatever. Here's what I say. If you're solving world-class problems, if you're making a difference, I heard my wife say it to one of her coaching clients the other day. She said, sometimes you just have to throw your ego in the trunk of the car, and while you're going down the road of life, you're going to hear that ego banging in there, pounding on the back, and saying, hey, you know, and griping at you. And you have to just say to your ego, I'll tell you what, I know you're back there. I don't have time to listen to you right now because I'm busy saving people's lives.
I love that. I love that. Talking to Aaron Scott Young, I'm the coach here on our flagship station here in Southern California on KHTS. You can listen to us live on Hometown Station. So I love what your missus said. Put it in the trunk. So where do you go if you're struggling in life? You own a business, and you get stuck in your business. And do you think people get stuck because they really didn't put a plan together? They really didn't bring in the right mentors. They're not seeking help. They haven't done their discovery work. They don't do research. And now they wonder why they're stuck. How do you get this type of business owner unstuck? Yeah. You have something called the Unshackled Owner, which is really about, instead of having your business own you, it's you own your business. And here's what I'll tell you. Most business owners, the vast majority of them are small businesses, right? They've just got a handful of employees. They started doing something because they were good at whatever it was. They were a good mechanic, a good cook, a good programmer, a good radio host, you know, whatever. They started doing something. And the thing that they were doing, the thing that they were good at, is what I would call their superpower. You know, what is the thing that everybody sees you as being good at? What's your superpower? You need to figure out what it is. Like, you are a great communicator, Coach, right? We've talked about that before. I'm a quick problem solver. I know that. It doesn't matter the circumstance. I can find a solution to the problem. What's your superpower? And then this is where people get screwed up. Instead of focusing on their greatness, on their superpower, they try to, out of being, you know, underfunded or just cheapskates or scared to employ people or don't know how to manage people, they try to do everything that they're not great at. Right.
And then what happens is they never grow. They're always broke. And then they say, well, I can't hire a bookkeeper because I can't afford it. I can't hire a mentor. I can't pay for that marketing. I can't buy that advertising, because they've stayed in this, they're all boxed up because they've never let themselves work their strengths and then hire their
right. And this Justin's taking notes here. He loves our show here. So what you said is just very, very important. If you don't understand, or let me say it differently, you have this great skill. You have this great skill. But you know what? You need 120. I did research years ago on what a business owner has to do every day. 128 things. Okay? So if you have a great skill, that's one thing. Who is going to do the other 127 things? Let me just give you a couple of them. One is if you have employees, you've got to touch the hearts of your employees. Those employees and you are on a battleship fighting the Russian Navy. And your employees have to know that you care. And I think this is where large corporations, medium-sized businesses, government, this is where they fall down. This is where mediocrity sneaks into the process. And mediocrity will kill your ambition. Mediocrity will kill your passion to succeed. And when mediocrity creeps into the system, you know what happens, ladies and gentlemen? You just settle. You say things like, it's too hard, I can't do it. And this is where an Aaron Scott Young or a Coach Ron Tunick, we care about you enough to do this radio show, but we want you to understand that you've got to go and get help. Look, you can hire us. If you can afford us, that's great. But there's a lot of mentors in every community. If you're listening to me, I know we have listeners in Florida and the Midwest. There are mentors. Find that mentor. Find that, interview 5 people. Find that one person that when you ask them questions, they give you inspiring answers like Aaron Scott Young just shared with you. So when you look, Aaron Scott Young, at somebody who is stuck in their business, here's what I would say. They have to have a mastermind group. This is never talked about in college. This is rarely talked about in life and books. You've got to build. I know you have a mastermind group. So do I. And you have to build.
How can you not?
Because most people don't get exposed to it. Where would people? Come on, Aaron Scott Young. Where would a young person get exposed to a mastermind group unless they're listening to our show? Young people don't read books. You and I grew up not only reading books, but buying CDs and cassette tapes and sticking them in our car. You don't see kids doing that today.
I don't know what they do, but kids do watch TED Talks. Kids do watch podcasts or listen to podcasts. But they want it in short bites. They want everything fast. Everything's got to happen real fast. And if it's not super entertaining, our tendency as a community, and especially as the younger people who've only grown up with this soundbite culture, you're right, they won't stay in and listen. To read a book like Think and Grow Rich, and it's not written in a current jargon, it doesn't matter all the wisdom that's in there. If you don't have the patience to read it, you're not going to know. But a mastermind group, you're right. It's you've got to surround yourself with people who are kind of at or near your level, a little above, a little below, right where you are, but who are different than you, who think different than you, who like things different than you, who look different than you. You've got to be exposed to a variety of thinking, a variety of opinions, all with the desire of lifting everyone in the group. Instead of competing, there's a great word called enmity. Enmity means I win by you losing. And a mastermind group is about, as we help each other in the group, we all improve. And you've got to find a friend, a few friends, go get Think and Grow Rich and see how a mastermind is set up. But if you don't have it, you're never going to break out of your own creativity. You're never going to get beyond what you already know.
But it's daily.
You know what I mean?
Look, yes, of course. You know that I agree with everything that you're saying because I believe in you, Aaron Scott Young. But people don't even know who John Wayne is. If you're under 30 years old, they don't even know who John Wayne is. So one thing. It's to read the book Think and Grow Rich. There's so many other books out there. It's another thing of reading, applying, and practicing every day. You can't just read, once a week. You've got to read every day. You have to, I think part of the challenge, the human The human spirit has to be motivated every day. Why do you think, ladies and gentlemen, that football teams have coaches and they practice 2 and 3 hours every single day? Why? Because they want the players to be able to, under pressure, under stress, to be able to perform their job without reacting, without thinking what they have to do. Well, in the real world, it's a little similar, except there's more things that can happen in the real life than on the football field. So in the real world, you've got to practice, but you have to know what to practice. You said I have good communication skills. I started practicing. I took speech class. I went to all these various speaking clubs. I started speaking in my 20s. And this is an idea that I don't see young people learning how to speak. I don't see young people understanding that the art of communication is probably more important than anything else you're going to do in life. Because if you're going to get married, I know you have a great marriage, so do I. We are able to communicate with our wives. We're able to listen. Part of the art of communication is being a great listener. So
let me jump
in on that, please.
So I certainly agree with what you're saying in theory, but let's just say, you mentioned young people again, and I just want to say now. So we both are, I'm a grandpa, you're a grandpa, but you're like a great grandpa, really, because you're like my dad's age, and but you're still, I'm glad you're still driving your own car. You're supposed to be laughing at these comments. The point is,
very sensitive about my age.
Are you really?
Yeah. Oh,
I
have a birthday coming. March 9th. I hope you send me a gift. March 9th is my birthday, and I'm freaking out. I always, about 2 or 3 weeks before my birthday, I just go into this like, are you kidding me? Because I honestly feel like I'm 35, and I look good, don't I, Justin? I mean, I really look good.
You look really good for you're a very distinguished-looking fellow.
Yeah, thank you.
Let me finish making my point. I'm sorry about your birthday and that you're considering your own mortality, but I just want you to know that I love you, and
I love you back too.
Yeah, but here's the point I was saying about communication. Young people are communicating however they communicate, right? They're communicating however they do it. The people that are younger than us have a different way. They've grown up with different rules of engagement, different technologies, different ways of saying things. What we need to do is make sure that we can take whatever these life lessons and this wisdom of the ages that we've picked up along the way, and figure out how do we communicate that to people who do it differently than us. Otherwise, there's just going to be this big
whoa! I got a challenge here, son. I got a challenge here, because if you think Twitter and Facebook and all this social media, which I'm on myself, go to Coach Ron Tunick. I need more Facebook friends. I'll be honest with you, ladies and gentlemen. Please, I want to get to 10,000. Help me get to 10,000. But that is not communicating. Communicating, in my opinion, is sitting down face to face, looking at the expression of the other person, looking at their eye contact, looking at their body movement. You can't do any of this thing. FaceTime is great. I get all that. But old-fashioned face-to-face stuff, I still believe, is the greatest way to move your pebble up the mountain.
So that's fabulous. Of course we want to do that. But my son, I have a son who is a brilliant kid, 17 years old. He's very introverted. Where my older kids were very social, this kid doesn't want to be out in the groups, doesn't want to be out playing sports. His closest friends he's got a really good friend in North Carolina, another really good friend in England, and they're on Skype and they're talking to each other, and they're creating artwork. They're creating, he's a writer. He does voice acting. He's got a very vibrant life, but it's being done digitally. It's not being done on a park bench someplace or on a football field or on a Boy Scout camp out. It's just not his life.
All right,
it doesn't make it irrelevant.
I want to respond to that. We got to take a break here in 1 minute. I want to respond to that. I understand that art of communication. I also have somebody in my family that's extremely introverted and virtually antisocial. Your son's not antisocial. So the point is that if he's going to live a life in a non-group setting, that might work. If he's going to live a life in an environment where he doesn't have to touch other people, that might work. I'm going to come back on the show we call Start a Biz. Aaron Scott Young and the coach and I originate from our flagship station here in Southern California on KHTS. We'll be right back. You know what's so exciting, Aaron Scott Young is the president of the Coach Ron Tunick fan club, just called in and listens to the show. Big shout out to you, Phil. Love you, buddy. Hope Lisa does better. His better half is struggling a little bit with some dental issues. All right, back to, before we went to break, ladies and gentlemen, Aaron was talking about his son, and I have somebody in my family that is really introverted, almost antisocial. And let me just say this, that, and I've been talking about this, I talk about it in my book, I do it in my workshops. To me, Aaron Scott Young, the number one thing that everybody should work on is their likability factor. So if you're likable, ladies and gentlemen, you get promoted. You get hired. You're the one that they keep if they have to cut employees. Being likable is so important because we buy stuff from people we like. We employ people we like. We keep people we like. And likability, for the most part, is about creating that communication between you and somebody else. Now, your son is communicating using digital. Get all that. So if digital changes or digital doesn't work for him and he has to go out and talk to people, your son and my family member, they better be likable because they will suffer. People who are not likable, they suffer, Aaron Scott Young, and they get frustrated and they turn inward and becomes very dark times for them. Most people who are not likable are very unhappy people.
Yeah, it's no question about it. You know, I mean, unless I don't know. You need to be likable. You need to figure out a way. You don't have to be likable to everybody. You have to, but you do have to, if you stand for something, if you have a standard that says, I'm Aaron Young, and this is who I am, and this is what I do and what I don't do, and this is who I am, then what will happen is, unless you say, well, I'm just an old curmudgeon because screw you. But if you're saying, here I am, I'm going to engage in the world, I'm going to try to do my part, but this is my standard. Not, these are the rules I follow. This is my standard. What will happen is, you will attract people to you who can resonate with that, and you will repel people away from you, which is fine. You know, the best marketing repels as many as it attracts. So set a standard, know who you are, and do the best you can to live up to your standard, and you'll find yourself surrounded with great people who are like-minded. Not unlike at the SHOT Show. Didn't you see a lot of people this weekend in Vegas that were like-minded and they got along great and they were able to build a huge industry?
100,000 people. It was the most amazing thing I've ever experienced. And you're spot on because we all shared the same values. So your point is very, very well taken. And we only have about 30 seconds left. So if you're listening to our show, we're honored that you do. And I agree 100% with Aaron Scott Young says. He says standard, I say philosophical approach to life. They're both about the same. You have to know who you are, and you have to live by your own rules as long as those rules don't violate any society's rules. But you need to become your own person. Right on that?
That's exactly right. A standard is what you've set for yourself and what you say I'm going to live up to. Rules are what somebody else made up that are trying to make you conform to their way of thinking. Set a standard. You will make much more progress in the world if you live by your own standards instead of trying to obey somebody else's made-up rules.
Fastest hour on radio. The show's called Start a Biz. Aaron Scott Young and the coach, brought to you by Laughlin USA. Don't hire an attorney first. Call Laughlin USA. Go to Laughlin USA. If you're starting a business, own a business, and you need documents, check with Laughlin USA. All right, God bless you. We'll see you down the road.
All right, take care, Coach. Bye-bye.
Bye.